we'd always wanted to drive the NC500. In the planning process of me plotting routes, I was looking for interesting places that we could go to on the way up and also on the way back. And one of the things I wanted to do was to drive one of the fabled Scottish lanes. And with the help of Trailwise 2, I identified, lovely little Ford here, so I'm getting distracted. I identified what I thought would be an interesting lane. Now, there are some others nearby, but one in particular which looked brilliant but was a dead end. We'd already driven 450 miles to get here. The car was fully loaded up with 2 weeks of our clothes and other bits and pieces for the 2-week touring holiday. So the car was fully loaded, and I thought, I don't want to over risk things. I mean, we hadn't even got to the start of the NC500 yet, so but I thought this one looked relatively easygoing, but it'll give us a flavour of what a Scottish lane is. That's exactly what I was looking for. The other thing is this Dere Street, it's called, is actually a Roman road. I get quite excited about the thought of Romans that a couple of 100 years ago, or just a little bit less, were using this road, and how it must have looked back then. It must have been just an incredible sight. So I feel a privilege. So, like I say, this part is macadam. We'll cross the road in a minute, and then it goes to unsurfaced. But I felt it was important to include the whole unclassified county road in the video so that you could see it in its entirety with nothing left out. I think I'd actually stopped here to tell my wife about, on the left hand side there was the Roman camps as marked out on the Ordnance Survey maps. So yes, we'll sit back, and in a minute we'll be crossing the main road, and then we'll be starting the unsurfaced part of this lane. Beautiful lane with incredible views. So here we are at the beginning of the unsurfaced part. Note the seasonal closure that this lane has. So I knew that the track wasn't going to be particularly well defined, but it certainly seemed okay to start with, and I was pleasantly surprised that it was dry, it wasn't raining, we had even a bit of blue sky there, and it was a relatively hard surface underneath. So far I was quite impressed with how well maintained this track seemed to be. As you can see, there's a lot of stonework that's been put in, I should imagine, in some quite soggy areas. And this was the first of many gates along this lane. We all know that GoPro's not very good at showing terrain and certainly flattening out areas, but this was quite a constant climb, and you can probably tell by the engine revs. I needed to keep the momentum up. It was quite a bit steeper than what it certainly looks on video, and I thought to myself, well, if we're going up high, that only means one thing: we're going to have some great views at the top. As we approached this particular area, I could tell the terrain was getting slightly different. Gone was all that sort of hardcore rubble, and we were now on grass, and I thought to myself, well, could get a little bit sticky up here, and lo and behold, as we got up closer, it wasn't looking particularly good. Now bear in mind, we've got a car full of holiday stuff here. spare wheel and jack is absolutely buried, so I thought I'm going to get out, have a look, test the ground to see if it's hard underneath. If it's hard underneath, we're good to go, but if it was going to be soft and I was going to be sinking into it, then we were probably going to turn back. Like I say, we didn't want to ruin the holiday and all the expense it had been to sort out, but I was happy. Yep, it was all firm underfoot. So yes, there was some channels. So, and there we are. It was. I did keep to the left a little bit out of the rut, but it wasn't really too much of an issue. And as it turned out, that was the stickiest part of the lane. And as we weren't even halfway or anything, I was beginning to wonder if we were going to encounter more of this, but thankfully we didn't. So, and it was great. It was no problem at all. Apart from this being a little bit of a difficult gate to open, this one's also got an electric fence behind it. Not unusual to come across that, but I know I have seen comments of people just think, oh, we can't cross it, but there's a plastic handle on the end, which is what I'm holding, and that's why I'm not jumping up and down, sparking out of my ears. And just do what I did. You unclip it, you lay it down on the ground. That's not going to harm the equipment. And when you've driven through it, you shut the gate, and then you clip the electric thing back onto its hoop again, and everything is good to go. As we approached this area, I was a little bit concerned. The grass was getting longer, and I thought, is there going to be some a boggy area there? As it turned out, it wasn't, but the hill that was approaching me, although it looks nothing on the GoPro, was actually quite steep, so I thought I'm going to build some speed up. I had a lot of weight in the car. I wouldn't normally drive this fast up a lane, but for the reasons I just said, it was steep, I had extra weight, and I wasn't 100% sure of what the surface was going to be like just before and certainly just after. But again, as it happened, it was all nice and hard surface, and getting up there was beginning to lend itself to some absolutely incredible views. Again, this was another hill which was looking very steep from the driving seat, and I wasn't quite so nervous about this one because I'd already experienced it. It was quite a hard surface sort of lane, but it was still very, very steep, and again the GoPro doesn't show that. And also this had quite a crown in the middle of the track, so any of the lower slung SUVs that was attempting this, you may get a little bit of belly rub on that one. But again, once you're at the top, all is good and turns into a standard lane again.